Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we are in for a great show tonight as Josh Rutledge joins us to talk all about the phenomenon. Yes, the phenomenon. Dirty Filth is here as well to present another great cartoon. And the best part is we have all of you here as well. We have Race Fan in the gold medal position and B with a silver. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a bronze medal tonight. High Lower Lobs, Chris 716. Les Paul Holland is here. Les Paul Holland will strum his way to the gold medal tonight because we said he can, because he's Les Paul Holland. And he'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Light up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Highlight Walkers, Eternity Eternal, Jeff Steve Garvey. He'll hit a home run for you. Cosmic Joe, thanks for coming back. Hello, Jennifer Patterson. Thank you for joining us. Luscious Jules, nice to see you. And the lovely and talented Kira, thank you for coming on in. Dutch Hank, good to see you, my man, as we continue on with Roll Call tonight. Who's up next? Noble Patrick, good to see you, my man. And Tina Smith, good to have you back. Let's continue with Roll Call here, shall we? Kathleen Hughes, thank you for joining us as we continue on saying hello to our audience. And let's see here, JSCO, how you doing, man? Body Tech, good morning. Body Tech will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Purple-haired Pixie Lara, can't wait to see you, my dear, in Reno, May 10th through 12th for our SOR fan party. Ozzy, how you doing? W. David Page, good to see you. And Mama Susan, Mark Sanchez. Can't wait to see you, Mark. Thank you for coming to Reno again. Marty Burback's booked for Reno. Yes, he is. Look at that. I'm going to Reno. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Bar Madison, Magnus Vermagnuson, Thomas Rock, Susan Alloway. Good to see you all. Deidre, how are you? Lil Cam over on Twitch. Millennium, my man. Sweet Donna Spencer, you're looking lovely tonight. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Me Woikin, you're early. Sweet Donna C. Again, because I love saying it. Number 6 in your program, starting at left wing. From Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson's here. Absolutely. Hi, POTUS. How you doing? Paramarv. Sandra Kincaid, it was lovely talking to you earlier. Yes, her and I had a phone call. A phone call. I know what she sounds like, and she has a beautiful Southern accent. Totally does. Sensational Shelley, how are you? Dragonfly, thanks for coming on in. Hello, Ozzy Ange. Nice to see you. And Melissa Nicole, good to see you. And who else do we have here? Scrolling on down, Operation Shutdown. Rain, nice to see you. And who else is here? Well, W. Decker is here. And W. Decker is kicking off the super chat tonight. Thank you, buddy. Very much appreciate your love and support, man. Very much appreciate it. And continuing on, Draculticon, Karen in the Woo Train. How you doing? Richard L. Moore, good to see you again. Rose Demaray. And who else is here? Super Crazy, thanks for coming on in. Jennifer Patterson, thank you for that lovely super chat as well. Very much appreciate it. We got to get the radio side going here. Hold on. Welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're talking about engaging the phenomena. Josh Rutledge is here. He's an experiencer podcaster. We're going to learn all about him in just a few minutes' time as we continue with roll call. And who else do we have in our chat room tonight? Phil the Stalker. Good to see you. And Cliff Sy. Thanks for coming on in. Chris Bartell, how you doing? He's a guest coming up soon. Yeah, he worked at Skinwalker Ranch, people. He's going to be on this show very, very soon. Thank you for joining our chat room, my man. We got 30 seconds. Hello, Chris. Teen, nice to see you. Rock and Rory. Nikki in Seattle, thanks for coming on in. And Laura Lobbs, thank you for that lovely super chat. Very much appreciate it as we continue on with our roll call. There's Bill WD-40 lubing us up for tonight's show. So let's go into this one nice and smooth as I ask all of you to put your horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of fun tonight. Josh Rutledge will be here momentarily. We're going to talk about aliens, UFOs, paranormal, supernatural, and the phenomena that is. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton will join us from Among the Missing. Follow that up. Travis William Mustus will be here for the Crypted Report. Josh Rutledge's journey into the world of the unexplained, it happened around August of 2019 in a profound way. It all started with a dream that felt more like a vivid memory. In this dream, he was standing beneath a UFO, holding hands with an entity that felt both known and unknown to him. The revelation he received was that he was a hybrid. This dream occurred just days before he embarked on his podcasting journey with lifelong friend FearScape Paranormal, now called the Convergence Enigma. He's moved on since then. That experience marked the beginning of a fascinating path. Since then, Josh has continued on this path, recently diving into the realms of energy work, becoming a reiki practitioner, a channeler, and more. Let's say hello to Josh Rutledge on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Josh, good to have you here for the first time. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I am doing great, my friend. We're in for a great show tonight. You're relatively new to this field, and I'm sure you were like me, where you literally had a happily boring life going on before this happened. Let's go back to 2019. What is this dream all about?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I often remember my dreams. That's not something that is new to me, but in this case, it was a dream. If you've ever had one that you wake up and you're not sure if it was a dream or a memory, you're not quite sure where the boundary is between the two. And that's really what this felt like. And it stayed with me even now, almost 5 years after the fact, almost 6 years after the fact. I still can remember aspects of that dream, repressed memory, whatever it was, that just stayed with me and have continued to kind of evolve. And as I continued on my journey of trying to kind of understand how all this stuff fits together.
It's such a wild ride, man, because I know when I'm listening to you say this, I'm thinking of my own journey that began in 2011. And, I lived a great life prior to that, man. And then all of a sudden the phenomena kicked my ass right into gear. I didn't have a choice. And it sounds like it didn't give you a choice either.
No, I mean, it really, it's basically led me to kind of come to the conclusion that I kick us all
Mhm.
into gear to cause us to rethink the nature of our reality and shift track, if you will, and just put us on a different path in life.
The path that you have chosen, what made you wake up to it? What made you say, this is something that I've never experienced before? I have to look into this. I have to be the one to figure out what is going on, because I'm sure, like everybody else, you tried to talk to your friends about it. You talked to, those close to you about it, family about it. And everybody was probably like, oh man, that's just a weird dream, man. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't, other than the my friend and co-host at the time when I was starting my podcast, I really didn't share the dream that I had had with many people. I remember on my first introductory episode into the podcast, I did talk about it briefly, I guess, to the people who were listening at the time. But for the most part, I kept it to myself, still trying to figure out, again, what it meant for me. The Because of the podcast, though, I was able to research just a lot of different topics that probably wouldn't have looked into had it not been for the podcast. And so I you've probably heard the phrase "jack of all trades, master of none," and that's kind of the mode that I operated in the beginning, of just drinking from a fire hose, so to speak, of all the different aspects of UFO cases and inner Earth and ghosts and things, and just continuing to drink and learn as much as I can, and think about how it applied again to that kind of revelation that I had. I did have other experiences along the way, which I think kind of for me served as guideposts, just to kind of reassure me that I was on the right path.
How did you approach this with the people around you, that this is what you needed to do and wanted to do, and that it needed to be investigated? I mean, a lot of people who jump into this, and I say this from experience, it's like an itch that we have to scratch. And no
Mhm.
matter what, it consumes our minds 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not something that we could just push to the side and say, yeah, that was cool, and then move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that I am a very analytical person at heart. Spock from Star Trek is kind of my idol, and I try to approach things from a very logical perspective. And so, here was this seeming dream or memory that I had had that just kind of went beyond the parameters of what I was able to explain. So it was partly the drive to want to explain what that was, even if that meant rationalizing it away so that I could get back to that mundane aspect of life that you mentioned before. Um, but what I found is that the more that I researched into trying to understand what this was for me, the more I found evidence that supported the experience I had and the additional experiences I would have.
Did you know any experiencers prior to this event?
Oh, no. At least let me rephrase and say I I have since found out that several in my family were experiencers. I did not know at the time that they were. Um, I did have recollections of my youth, and when I say youth, like before 10, of stories that where I was told by my family of various type of events that could be labeled psychic in nature. Like my dad was in the military and he was deployed overseas, and we were staying at my grandmother's house. And to hear from my grandmother, she would say, "Well, you woke up in the middle of the night and you started yelling, get away from the fire. Daddy's in trouble. Daddy's in trouble. And then later we found out that my dad actually had been really close to a fire and he was temporarily in danger. And so thinking back now at those experiences that I had, I can see that I at least had some possibility of having the experience that I would later on, have in my life as a kid. But because of my upbringing and just the way that my parents and then a lot of my social aspects of my upbringing, I wasn't encouraged to explore or develop those aspects of myself. So they kind of lay dormant, if you will. And so again, that experience, that dream, that whatever, really felt like an awakening of sorts.
That awakening that made you open your eyes, did it lead to other aspects of the phenomena coming forward?
Absolutely. So that dream happened in August of 19. Later in late September, early October, I went with some friends to do a ghost investigation at a local restaurant and club, and there had a profound experience with the phenomena, where to the point where I was holding dowsing rods. My friend was doing solo on the Ouija board, and another friend was kind of telepathically, cyclically connecting with a spirit. And we would get, like, she would ask a question. My friend that was on the Ouija board would get an answer on the board, and then I would get the rods would cross or move around to indicate, yes or no, in the kind of validity of the response that was given. So we had cross, if you will, cross medium, um, acceptance and validation that what we were experiencing was true. So that was just shortly after really getting started in my research, and then after my dream. And then I watched the docu-series, which, some people love it, some people hate it, but the docu-series Hellier, that was based at the time in, the Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky area. And that's where I'm from, born and raised in Kentucky. And so it was interesting to me because it was a local, kind of involvement from a case perspective.
I
But
wish you
again,
would. I
yeah,
loved Hell.
yeah,
I really did.
it,
I don't think that's finished yet.
I don't think so either. I don't know though if, like, I know people keep asking for a season 3, but I don't know if the Newkirks are actually going to pursue a season 3 or not. Um, you know, uh, so it was interesting, and so it led me again to research Indrid Cold and the Kelly Hopkinsville case. And I remember even at the time when I was researching those things, I came up with some correlations. For example, in the Kelly Hopkinsville case, if anybody's not familiar with it, there's the goblins on this farm in Kentucky. They're terrorizing these people in the house. They shoot at them, and the metals ricochet off. Um, but that happened in the 50s. On the same day, just 100 miles or so, or not even, sorry, about 30 miles or so as the crow flies north, a woman was attacked in the Ohio River by something called the clawed beast of the Ohio. And so it seems, Hellier, of course, is looking at the interconnectivity of caves. Then you have just a few days later in Loveland, Ohio, the Loveland frogs are spotted. We give these things different names, but in all actuality, they could be related. They could be the same phenomena. And so that's what really kind of spurred me into thinking about how all of this stuff is connected. How my spirit encounter and my dream and my what would be my UFO encounter later in 2020, how that all of that stuff was connected. And and then later, much later on in life, how it relates to us as humans.
Yeah, I think we all learned a lot from Hellier. I mean, the way the investigations were conducted and the monsters that were around it, I really don't know what was really going on. And the fact that you brought up that at the same time there was another sea monster, Ohio is just screwed. Okay. And I mean that with all due respect. If you're listening in
Yeah.
Ohio, I love you, but your state is screwed when it comes to everything to do with monsters. Okay. There's not a monster that isn't seen there, and that is, and I mean, when I say screwed, I'm saying that in a very good way, very good way, so I don't know what it
I
is,
mean,
man.
I don't know, and that's really, when you think about the how much of the different sightings and things that really exist across all of the states in the U.S. And and then really the world. I think that the probably we run into sometimes as we start thinking about these things as being individual representations of the phenomena, when in all actuality it may just be kind of somehow linked in an overall representation of the phenomena.
I agree with you. So let's go back to your dream here for a second.
Sure.
You In the intro that I read, you had claimed that in this dream you were standing underneath a UFO. What did the UFO look like?
So at the time, I had no frame of reference. I always described it as kind of looking like the shell of a walnut, the outer shell of a walnut with kind of the back notched out. That's the way that I always kind of described it to people. And it was so in the dream or memory, I don't know which one it is, in the experience, let's say, um, I was standing at my grandparents' farm, which they had a rather large farm in rural Kentucky, and we spent a lot of summers there, and so it would not have been uncommon to have memories, certainly of being at the farm, and therefore potentially occurrences that would happen there. Um, but as I stood in the front field, it was a very, it was a bright day. It was sunny. There wasn't very many clouds in the sky. And this craft just, again, hovered. I'm sorry, I'm visualizing the dream. So maybe, 50 to 60 feet above off the ground from our location. I remember that I was small, maybe no more than 11 or 12 years old in age. I had not hit my growth spurt for my teenage years, and so I was still relatively small. And so that obviously has an impact on how I would have viewed distances and the size of the craft, etc. But um, the strangest thing is the entity that was standing next to me, holding my hand. Um, and when I originally had the dream, I couldn't recall. I couldn't see its face. I don't know if it was a he or she, but I couldn't see its face. I later did some hypnotic regression work with a friend, and I was able to see its face. And it was basically like a star field. I imagine just looking out at like a Hubble Space Telescope, live action view, if you will, of a starry night. That's what it looked like in this entity's face.
Well, that sounds really strange. Really strange. How long did this last for, you think?
Uh, the event, maybe a few minutes, is most that I've been able to piece together. It was. I have full belief that there was some activity that occurred prior to this recollection, and there is likely some activity that occurred after. But for whatever reason, my psyche pulled out this particular scene to show to me at that particular time. So that particular scene lasted maybe a few minutes. Um, but like I said, I mean, right now I could vividly see every aspect of it as if I'm there. Part of that I'm sure has to play with I have a photographic memory, so everything that I have ever seen is all stored away, and I just have to think about it, and I can recall and see whatever it was that was happening. And I can see the color of the clothes that people were wearing, et cetera, et cetera. So part of that I'm sure helps in me being able to recall the experience vividly, even now moving forward.
When you saw the alien, did it talk to you?
Telepathically, it did. So it said, Josh, you're a hybrid. And so because of that, you'll have an interesting life. And that was really all the words that were said. And I mean, so far, almost 5 years later, it's been pretty interesting so far. So, um, I don't know if that interesting life aspect was from the age of 10 or 12 forward, or if it was um, like a time capsule, placed stored away inside my mind for me to use at this stage of my life versus at earlier stages. That's always the interesting question when it comes to the mind and the psyche and how all that kind of stuff works. Um, is there a reason why some memories you forget until somebody talks about something, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I remember I did that. It's just um, yeah, it's just really interesting how we as people store our memories and why and when we recall the ones that we do.
Storing those memories. I mean, this is just what you know. It has nothing to do with what has been left out to you. You don't know how long you were gone for. You don't know how long the dream happened. You don't know what other messages could have been there. 2 minutes to go here. Have you thought about getting uh, brought back and regressed to find out what's going on, or have you?
I have thought about doing it. I've got a friend, I think she was on the show a few weeks ago, Debs Shakti.
Love Deb.
Yeah, and she does that type of work. And so I hope to be able to do some type of calling forward of additional details. I though also think that there's a time and place for certain things, and I don't know that I'm quite ready in my journey that whatever I would uncover would make sense to where I am. And so I get kind of an intuitive sense that yes, I'm going to do that. It's just not time yet for me to do that.
They always give you a time. They always let you know kind of what's going on. Are you afraid to take that next step? Are you afraid to learn what you may not know?
My biggest fear around all of it was the acceptance of my wife and kids. And I did eventually, share the dream and all that it has meant from the last 4 years with my wife. And it was hard for her to process. So when I first started thinking about it, I probably would have been fearful to explore it. But now, knowing that I have the support of my wife and kids, that fear is wiped away.
Well, that's good. What does your wife have to say?
She's skeptical. I mean, I think that that's an okay response. She has grown in her understanding of other aspects of it, and I've demonstrated some other things that I think kind of help her in her own grasping of this information that I'm providing, as well as what it potentially means to her in her life experience. So I know that's kind of vague in response, but she's opening up to it a little bit every day.
Well, that's good because it would be really hard not to have that kind of support going on. Josh, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Quick first half hour with Josh Rutledge tonight from Mysterious Experiences podcast. And we are going to go to break here. When we come back, what does he know about aliens? What does he think about alien contact? Hey, any chance we get to talk aliens on this show, by golly, we are going to take it. Because that's what we do here on Spaced Out Radio. Turn up the woo, let the trolls come attack, because we're here to bring you the stories. There we go. We're clear. How you doing there, Dirty Filth? That's good thumbs upping. I bet you can't do it twice. Oh, look at that. Son of a gun. He's talented. You having fun, Josh?
I am. I really am enjoying every minute of it.
Right on. We have a blob alert, people. We have a blob alert. There she is. There she is. Blob sometimes helps Dirty Filth actually paint the cartoons. Mm-hmm. Get that paw up there, Blobbert. Yeah, she's ready. She's ready. She's like, no, man, you got to go over here. You got to go over here. Mm-hmm. Look at that. Right in there. Come on, Dirty. Get her done, she's saying. We got Matlock to watch. It's awesome. Love that cat.
Okay, I got a little space here, Dave. Also, whoops, look at that. She vanished.
I'm surprised. She was giving you pretty harsh critique there for a second.
The gremlin decided to jump up on the back of the chair and kind of bolt his way through. I think he's probably going to get beaten up later. I'm bringing back the Dave Scott cartoon character as well today.
I noticed. Carl's back again.
Nope.
No?
Not
Oh,
quite
my
yet.
actual character. You haven't drawn me in a long time.
I waited till you cut your hair.
Blob's getting the love from the audience, man.
Don't want to bonk her in the snoot.
No, that you don't. JSCO. Oh, we love this cat. Love this cat. All right. Yeah, Blob is 24 years old. Right, Filth?
Metric years.
Yeah. Dark Starry Sky, how are you, neighbor? Hope you're enjoying this snowfall. It was a great drive home with lots of vehicles in the ditches on the back to the 108 this evening. Jeremy Jones, how you doing, man? I agree, Kira. Blob needs her own Instagram page. Lee the Bee, how are you? Jennifer, welcome to SOR chat. Yes. Blob is a star. SG Nav Spotter, how you doing? Who's meowing in the background?
Whiskey's grumpy.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a gong show. I apologize.
What's Whiskey pissed off at?
The world.
Oh, he's a cat. What do you expect? All right. Josh, you having fun?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just thinking that you all need to do a cryptid comic book where all the cryptids are in like a Justice League type situation, and they just go around fighting crime.
That's up to the Filthmeister. He's got a book out. He does have a book out.
I got a second one, and I got a short comic book I'm working on as well.
Nice. Hey, I want to remind everybody while you're watching Blob, if you haven't already, get your tickets for May 10th through 12th, 2024 at the Silver Legacy Casino Resort in Reno, Nevada for the 3rd annual SOR fan party. We do this all for you guys. We do it all for you, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and you don't want to miss out. We have, who's coming? Merle's coming. Yep, Merle's going to be there. Carter Bouchard, Science Bob, Lala Bright, Jim Goodall, Lorian Fenton, Melinda Leslie, Jackie Harmon, Lee Strauss, and many, 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 many more will be there for you guys. So make sure you go to info@spacedoutradio.com, info@spacedoutradio.com. Get your tickets quickly here. Hi, Science Melinda. How you doing? And thank you to W. Decker, Jennifer, and Laura for the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And remember, you can shop at Spaced Out Radio Store. We do not have ugly swag, people. Here we go. Second half hour, Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Josh Rutledge, host of Mysterious Experiences, podcaster, experiencer. Josh, thank you so much for being here and talking some aliens with us, my man.
Oh yeah, absolutely love it. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, let's get right to it. You've had your own experience with an ET. You believe you're a hybrid, and that's at least in a dream state that you know. Have you had alien contact since then?
Nothing that I can definitively say. I have had the state in between dreaming and awake, where you're kind of coming out of your sleep state, but your eyes are still closed and you're still kind of breathing like you're dreaming. In that state, I have seen other entities and beings in my room. I actually a few weeks ago had a situation where I was in that kind of state of existence where I saw that I was on a surgical table. I saw people in surgical masks moving around above me, the traditional 3 light kind of overhead light. And I remember I asked in my mind, is this the truth? And the people dissolved away, and instead it was ETs, gray, the typical grays, as well as a tall white. I asked then if this was the truth, and then all of that faded away, and I saw an entity sitting on like a single chair type throne situation in a room with lines, like electrical lines coming out of the back of its head, feeding into various aspects of my subconscious. So I don't know if I saw my higher self or what happened there, but that was an interesting experience. And so that's where it tends to happen, is in kind of that in between space. The way I think about it is like in the movie The Matrix, they would load into the construct, and then they would load whatever they needed to go interact in the matrix and the construct. That's the kind of the way I think about that space. Is it's the what do I need to remember and retain, as well as what can I load in from my present life.
What do you think they want from you? What do you think they're trying to promote on you?
So I think that what they want from me is what I'm doing, which is to give people who have had an experience an opportunity to share that experience. And that's really what my podcast, Mysterious Experiences, is all about. It's just giving people that opportunity to come on and share their experiences. We have very similar conversation to what we're having here today, talking about what that experience meant to them, etc. But that, to me, is what I feel like my current iteration of my purpose is just it's an expansion of, so up until this point, like I said, I was researching in the form of reading books and reading cases and watching documentaries and all that kind of stuff. Well, now I'm getting kind of hands-on research in the form of talking to people who have had the experiences. I don't know where this leads next, but that's kind of what I feel like my current expectation is to be a facilitator of conversation.
A lot of us feel that exact same way. However, there is a real backlash right now in the UFO community regarding experiencers. And I don't think it's very fair. It's something we talk about quite a bit on this show. Have you ever experienced that backlash?
Um, I can't say that I have. At least, well, I'm sure that there are people who have commented on my YouTube videos and things that say things, but I just kind of ignore whatever. Stay out of the comments as much as I can. Any type of negative response. I don't mind if someone challenges me on an aspect of my experience or somebody else's experience that I talk about, because I think open discourse is important to further conversation on the topic. So I don't want to just say, well, you don't agree with me, so therefore I'm not going to listen to you. Instead, let's have a conversation. Let's have an intelligent conversation around what else it could be. Um, and so in that regard, I think I would be open to having someone tell me, I think you're crazy, if that's the words they want to use, as long as they're open to continuing to have a conversation around why they think that is, and if they're open to my interpretation of it.
And what is that interpretation? Define that for us, because so many different people have so many different ways of looking at this subject.
Yeah, I think that just like humans, there are those that are good in nature and those that are bad in nature. And when I say good and bad, I don't mean to necessarily draw a dualistic line between it, but just to say that there are those I think that have good intentions towards humanity and the people that make it up, and then there are those that have poor intentions. And then I also think that there's a group or a segment that is indifferent to us. They're here to conduct some understanding, and they're in a duck blind or whatever the case may be, or they pull a random specimen out of the control pool and they do some tests, and they're indifferent to us. And so we as humans, because we operate at such a wide emotional band, we look at their indifference as being hostile in nature, but in all actuality, they may not even realize that they're hurting us, that they are causing us pain, causing us mental trauma, etc. So I think that there is a series of different groups of ETs. We know people have talked about various groups. Some people have written books about various groups. And I do think that they're here for different reasons. Some of them I think are here for kind of like a stewardship of the earth and all of the inhabitants on the earth, us included. Some I think are here for experimentation to understand what we're capable of or why we exist. Um, and then I think others are here to just be impartial observers, to watch what unfolds and make notes.
I like it. I like it. Where do you think these aliens are coming from? Do you think they are coming from outer space? Do you think they're time travelers, interdimensional beings, inner Earth, from different dimensions? What do you think?
Yes, and yes, and I mean,
Yes.
I think that all things are possible until we can prove they're not possible, or which is hard to prove a negative. But until we can prove that one thing is not possible, it's hard to prove that it's hard to say that it's one thing over any other thing. Um, Me personally, I'm a very big believer in the idea of either hollow earth or inner earth. The idea that that there is some species that lives, just beyond our understanding of, if we think about the Earth as a big round cake, right? We're on the icing. We're on the happy birthday sign that's sitting on top of the cake. There's a whole lot of cake left to be explored, and it stands to reason that the Earth is roughly 4.5 billion years old. That this may not be the only iteration of intelligent life to develop on the Earth. And so, if in the past they moved underground because of natural disaster or whatever the case may be, then very much, possibility. I also think there's interdimensional beings, that the Earth is basically like layers upon layers. If you think about when you look at the old style blue and red 3D images, there was like the image itself, if you looked at it without the glasses, was like different layers stacked upon each other. And then if you use the glasses, you would see it as a 3D image. I think that's true of kind of dimensions around the Earth, that there are different layers stacked on top of each other, and we just don't see or interact with those other layers. And so some of these entities may be coming through from a higher or a different layer of dimensionality into our dimension. They also could be coming from space. Just because
Right.
we don't understand how faster than light travel could exist doesn't mean it can't exist. I mean, they've already discovered particles that move faster than light. So we already know that that's a possibility.
The idea that we are not alone on this planet is still an open source topic that is still very closed off by many in the mainstream. People like you, people like me, we're trying to educate those out there by listening to our shows and trying to educate people about what is going on around the monsters among us. When you look at the phenomena as a whole, there are so many things that seem to be connected to it. But as we stick with space for a minute, or aliens, I should say, for that matter, what do you think they want? What do you think is going to open up the public's attention to what we are experiencing right now?
So I think that to answer that question, we have to assume that we have something that the aliens want, or at least that some aspect of our existence is important to the aliens, to the point where they would want to make themselves known. Um, I've heard a lot of different, or I've read a lot of different books that talk about the idea that, kind of like the Prime Directive, right, in Star Trek, where you can't interfere directly with a species that hasn't reached a certain level of technological advancement. I wonder though if in our case it's also a certain level, excuse me, of spiritual or emotional advancement as well. And so, it may just be that they're here to, kind of like I said, early on, that the phenomena exists as a mechanism to wake us up, to begin an initiatory process that seeks to cause us to question the nature of our reality, continuing on to, kind of some level or some form of enlightenment. And if there is um a communal kind of experience of that enlightenment, where a large majority of the population gets there, that's when maybe they're more apt to make themselves openly known. And as people have suggested, land on the field at the next Super Bowl or whatever the case may be. The Super Bowl 500, halftime show is the aliens or something landing on, but the idea that we in some way, shape, or form are important, at least in their minds, in that it's not a matter of controlling us. It's a matter of influencing us so that we can ourselves make the spiritual evolutionary step, so to speak, of reaching a deeper understanding of our lives and how they interact with all life on this planet, so that we can better understand and comprehend how it might interact with other life in the cosmos.
I hope that's the case, because the fear mongering that continues on from those in the government level is getting ridiculous, first and
Mm.
foremost. But hey, we can't do anything about it. They're the ones running the show right now. You came in to this while the government was starting to kind of run the show regarding the UFO phenomenon and everything. As an experiencer, what do you see that for the people who may not be as closely following the government story about UFOs, aliens, and contact? As an experiencer, let's put your experiencer hat on. What do you see that maybe isn't being seen or said by the government?
Um, so I mean, obviously, the idea that it may not be a threat, right? That there may not be a threat to us as a society, a threat to the country and its borders, or whatever the case may be. That there may be some benevolence to the phenomenon, is specifically in the form of UAP and whatever is controlling the UAP. But on the same hand, I also understand how government works, and government doesn't traditionally get funding for things that are nice, right? And so if they have to spin it as a threat in order to get funding to go do research, then I think that's probably what's happening. I do wish, what I really wish is that they would open it up. So many, I think, colleges and educational institutions would research the phenomena in a very serious way if there was money made available for them to do so. If you could go and if Avi Loeb could go get a grant from the government to research, the deeper the stuff around the Oumuamua stuff and anything that's tangentially related, I think that we would see an explosion of information as it relates to the phenomena. That's where I think the biggest opportunity for the government exists, is create, um, crowdsource, if you will, the understanding of what the phenomena is, and make it available to the public. I understand that there's concern around the technology that was used to capture the video, but we've seen videos where they can block out certain aspects around that technology to be able to still show us the phenomenon without necessarily revealing their cards, so to speak, on what technology they have. So that's the biggest, I think, failure, in my opinion, of kind of governments around the world, even, is, if this was some other thing in science that they needed an answer for, they would make grant funding available. They would open it up to universities and say, hey, go figure this out for us. But for some reason, the UAP topic, they don't. So I don't know. Maybe it's because they already know the answer.
Is this an American topic?
No, this is a world topic.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's the extremely obvious answer to that question. But there is word that China may disclose. How would that affect the storyline?
The first of all, I think we have to agree on what we anticipate as disclosure. I think so many people have a different opinion of what disclosure is. And so, one could say that the Pentagon acknowledging that the videos from the Go Fast and the gimbal and all of that stuff as being legitimate videos, that was a form of disclosure. So I think we first have to level set on what we expect disclosure to be, so that if it happens, we can all look at each other and say, yep, disclosure happened. As far as if China were to disclose, if we agreed on what disclosure looked like and they were able to meet that expectation, I would hope that what it would cause is kind of the forcing of hands, so to speak, for other nations around the world to follow suit. It feels like for a lot of the world's governments on this topic that everybody's waiting for someone else to take the first step. And we've seen, bits and pieces of that. Some from governments in Canada, some from the UK, where people are releasing, bits and pieces here and there. But no one's really releasing an overall kind of standard picture of what disclosure is and what it entails. And I think everybody's just waiting for that first shoe to drop, so to speak.
Well, let me stop you right there for a quick second. To you, what is disclosure? I know what it means to me. To me, it means everything is in play. Roswell, Eisenhower meeting with aliens and trading humans for technology, Bob Lazar, crash retrievals, J-Rod, Skinny Bob, all this different types of beings people claim they've seen. That also I would even go as far as secret space program would have to be thrown in there.
Yeah.
To me, that's disclosure.
So I would agree that, to me, that's the same. That's disclosure for me as well. And it's not just those things, right? It's what happened in the Datloff Pass. With all those people that just went missing. There's a lot of different cases around the world that I think would all kind of be included in overall disclosure. But I also think that it's a slippery slope, because what I envision happening is that disclosure from the US will come as of 2004 and forward, as of the Nimitz experience. That's disclosure will include everything from 2004 and forward. And the reason I think that is because to go back any further in time and disclose earlier elements would open up the possibility of other conspiracies to also be true. And I don't think the government would necessarily, this is very much a US based opinion, but I don't think the government of the US would want to open up the possibility of those other conspiracies. So if you go all the way back to Roswell and you say Roswell is real and we collected craft and everything else, then people are going to start to question, like I said, those other conspiracies that are tangentially related that have happened over the course between 47 and now. So I don't think if the government were to release anything concrete, it would be stuff that's been obtained since 2004.
Yeah, and I think that's a real farce and tragedy that you even mentioned that, because there's literally 60 years of research before that is so important that we need answers to. And yet they want to think that we're stupid enough, and the public is stupid enough to take a look and say, well, ufology started, none of thing was really happening until 2004 with the Nimitz incident. So that's where we're going to start.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that it is a slap in the face for sure if they go that route. I just, when I'm thinking about the protection that the government has to create around itself and what doors get opened if they do go back in time that far, that's just my opinion on, if we see disclosure, will they include Roswell and other cases? I don't know that they would. But the other thing that I would say is that the other possibility is that we don't need the government for disclosure. The sightings seem to be on an increase. The number of unknowns that MUFON was reporting, before its issues, they were on an increase. It's very possible that intelligent life beyond us is taking it into their own hands and will force disclosure in some way, shape, or form.
And on that note, we are going to take a break here on Spaced Out Radio as Josh Rutledge is here talking UFOs, disclosure, aliens. We're going to continue the hot topics. We're going to take some questions from our audience as well. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. All right, we got about 5.5 minutes here, Josh. I'm going to turn things over to Dirty Filth here. And if you want to take a break, we'll be right back. Hi, Terrible Times. How you doing? Good to see you. And Dirty, you might want to unmute your mic.
Well, I was guzzling my tea Earl Grey hot. One sec here. There we go. Hi, everybody. I've decided I'm going to make some templates, possibly, so I don't have to draw the same borders over and over. It's boring drawing the borders. Let's get to the meat and the aliens. Anyways, I'm rambling. I have no idea where Blob went. This is a continuation of yesterday's comic. In case if nobody's seen it yet, this is yesterday's comic. I'll leave that there for a second. Basically, Carl the alien's like, dude, needed a better disguise. And the Mantis says, well, this heavy black cloak is pretty sharp, though. And he tells him to try the Groucho Marx nose and glasses because they work without without exception. Anyways, so then the Mantid is going to go into the public and get called out immediately. It's funny in my mind, so that's why I'm drawing it. You guys get to go along for the ride. The nose and glasses are the greatest things in the world. Everybody should have a pair just for good measure. Yeah. Gotta draw the manted beans because nobody's expecting those to show up. These little mouth pinchers. But I figured he'd have a baggy black hoodie. He thinks it's a cloak because he didn't do enough research before he got to Earth. And then he couldn't even be bothered to put any gloves on. He's just got his little manted slicey sticking out the bottom of his sleeves there. Antenna all over the place. Yeah. He's not fooling anyone. Let's make Dave's beard a little out of control a bit here. He's got his hair nice and cut short, all nice. Pretty sure Dave was wearing a blue shirt earlier. Just giving him the macho man point. Let's make it a spaced out radio shirt. Scribble, scribble.
All right. Dirty. Great job
Yes.
again. Uh-oh.
Well, it's not
Somebody-
done yet, Dave.
That damn mantid. The damn mantid. Anybody else join us here? Thank you tonight so far to W. Decker, Jennifer, and Laura for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support, guys. Very much appreciate it. And reminder, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. You'll be actually happy to wear our stuff out in public. Amy, how you doing? Good to see you. And what else can we talk about? Oh, yeah. Yeah. We want to make sure that all of you are attending our third annual SOR fan party in Reno, Nevada. Go to info@spacedoutradio.com, info@spacedoutradio.com, and reserve your tickets today because we want to see you. It's a 3-day event, and we want you there to hang on out with us to have a lot of fun with not only people from the SOR, but people who are on this show that you recognize and they want to hang out with you. So make sure you come on down to us. info@spacedoutradio.com. All right. Hello there, Ian McFadden. Good morning to you. Canna Chef Chris, thank you for joining us. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Aliens. Aliens is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio, Instagram @Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on tonight with Josh Rutledge. We're talking everything disclosure, UFOs, aliens, the phenomena, and we are going to get right into it. Josh, thank you so much for being here. Very much appreciate you.
Thanks again, Dave. It's been a fantastic time so far, and I can't wait to see what we're going to talk about next.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about a little bit about the disclosure realm and what disclosure is. I always say that I believe we are more in a confirmation realm, and that's kind of what we're seeing here with the government and them getting involved with everything. When you look at the government side of things, are you pleased with what's come out, or are you disappointed in the fact that they've been so secretive and not so alluring?
I mean, I guess I'm a little bit of both. I'm happy in the fact that they're at least acknowledging it more than they have, over the last, since 69 when Project Blue Book goes down, and even probably more than they did when it was Project Blue Book was even up and operating. So in that regard, I'm happy that they're giving it more attention, I think, than we ever really have seen them give it in history. Do I wish that it would be more? Certainly. I really wonder how many videos have been surfaced that have immediately been classified. Will we ever see those videos? We were talking a little bit earlier about what disclosure means to each one of us. And I think for someone like myself, I don't question the UFO topic. I've had experiences. I know that UFOs are real, and frankly, I've had some experiences with things beyond UFOs that I know that those things are real as well. And so disclosure from the government would not help me or shape my understanding of the phenomena. What I think it does is it removes the taboo associated with the phenomena so that we can speak more openly about it. And that's where I would hope to see more on the disclosure front, more acknowledgement from the government so that we can make great strides towards removing that societal taboo around this topic.
What strides, in your opinion, need to be made?
Oh, you know, a cross functional team of researchers, I think, would be a huge step in the right direction. When I say cross functional, I don't just mean within departments of the government. I mean, pull in individuals from the university, pull in individuals from ufology, you know, and make that a genuine research team, not just necessarily something that gets featured on the History Channel in a series, but actually looking at cases and investigating those cases, and specifically, you know, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but specifically looking at the human aspect of what this phenomena is and what it means for us as humans. Like, it's one thing to sit down and look at a case of a UFO sighting and say, well, this occurred on Saturday night at 9:30 p.m. We find that there's a lot of sightings that happened on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. Well, yes, because that's when people are out, is on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. Guess what? The sightings go down in the wintertime. But to actually look at it from what is it about the people that have the sighting, that have the experience? What is it about them that really can inform us around what the phenomena is and what we can learn from it? You know, I think, you know, when I first got started, it was looking at what can we learn about sightings that we can use to predict a sighting. But I have since realized that the sightings occur because of us. And so really we want to understand how to predict a sighting. We have to understand what it is about us that they're interested in. Having that cross-functional team created with, you know, experts in physics and quantum physics and theoretical physics and all biology and all the way across the board, all, you know, all different walks of science, and making those things funded from a grant perspective and really just giving it the necessary attention that it needs, I think would go a long way towards helping non-believers or hardline skeptics and accepting it as a potential truth.
That potential truth will affect everybody on humanity, you know, and I think that's a scary, scary thought, that everything will affect humanity, you know, and we don't know how it's going to affect us. We don't know how it's going to affect energy sources. We don't know how it's going to affect the economy, religion, every
Mhm.
aspect that kind of goes along with that. Do you think that those questions behind closed doors are being asked and talked about regarding how much can come out?
I think they are. You know, I don't know if anybody who's listening is familiar with the Brookings report that was put together back in the 60s that basically informed the government that, you know, we as people are the US government, that we, the people, are not ready to hear about items related to extraterrestrial life and UFOs and etc. I feel like, though, that when that report was put together and delivered to Congress, that there would have been a reactionary step to say, okay, well, what is the plan to get the American people or the world society ready to be able to receive that information? And I think as a part of that plan, it has to be not only, like you said, as we, the people, how do we react to it, but how do the economies of the world react to it? How do the religions of the world react to it? So on and so forth. I mean, we've seen even in recent years that, you know, the Catholic Church, the Pope, I think, put out a statement that they have a response for if life is found outside of the earth, what their response is going to be and how that relates to the Catholic faith. And so I think that preparedness is occurring on some level. At least I hope that it's occurring on some level, and that other areas can also do that same type of preparedness to be able to, when we are ready, when we are able as a society, when we're ready to understand that aspect of life, that there are already plans in place to help combat the potential slide, the negative slide of knowing such information.
Yeah, and that information is only apparently within a handful of people.
Mhm.
The phenomena continues to wake other people up, though. Everyday citizens, whether you work at Walmart, whether you work in a lawyer's office, whether you're a doctor, whether you are in construction or you work at a gas station, or maybe you're a stay-at-home parent. The phenomena just seems to pick and choose who and why we don't know. There's no pattern to it. Yet every year we see more and more people waking up to high strangeness and believing it's happening. Why do you think the phenomena is continuing to wake up ordinary, everyday people?
Well, I do think the phenomena is a grassroots movement. I mean, that's where it has the biggest potential impact. And let's go down the road of saying that maybe the telling of Valiant Cold, or sorry, Valiant Thor and the Stranger at the Pentagon, that was written by Dr. Frank Stranges, that maybe that actually happened. Now, let's just suppose that for a moment, and maybe intelligent life came to the representatives of the world and said, "We want to tell your population about us," and groups of individuals said, "Nope, they're not ready to know yet. It would have big impact, et cetera, et cetera. You can't tell them. We're not going to tell them." The next logical approach would be to gradually change people's opinions and mindset of the topic through kind of direct or indirect influence. That kind of, again, that grassroots approach. And so by changing, by appearing, by letting people have the experiences that they have, and hoping that they will then question, again, that kind of nature of reality, and what this means to me and what this means to the larger population, et cetera, that will, in a way, maybe get to the point where one day when the governments of the world say this is really happening, everybody or most people will just say, "Yeah, we already know." It's yeah, we've known this for a long time. Right now, it's a small community of people. Let's say, a few 100,000, maybe a million, or a little bit more of the world population. But if they continue to, you know, um, have exposure, if you will, with various forms, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, UFOs, ghosts, whatever the case may be, whatever it needs to happen for that person to really question things and start to wake up, that's all that needs to happen. That initiatory experience, and then enough of us will know that maybe there won't be any need for official disclosure from the government, because the world population will just accept that it's the truth.
Do you think it's that easy? Do you think the population can handle that?
I think that we've been exposed to it for the last 70 years. The cases, pop culture, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Star Trek, et cetera, that there has been a push to basically desensitize us to the idea of alien contact through other means outside of just UFO contact or seeing a ghost or seeing a Bigfoot. That there's a systemic or systematic approach to approaching us across all medium and across all genres of music and TV and movies and etc., so that when we do have those experiences, they're not such a shock to the system. And I think because of that kind of conditioning that we've all gone through over the last 70 years with TV and movies and etc., that's why I think for a lot of people, not all, but for a lot of people, the experiences that they have are experiences that cause wonder and excitement and a want to know more, rather than the kind of visceral fear that we might have seen, 20 or 30 years prior to the 60s, or even back around the time of, the H.G. Wells broadcast that we hear about. So, yeah.
Well, I find that very interesting because, we see so much in history, like you said, the alien broadcasts on radio. We've heard other people try to imitate it. It's never seemed to take off. We've heard the stories. We've learned about Project Blue Book. J. Allen Hynek, who is a major skeptic, but he turned out to be a believer at the end, and that's pretty much what shut down the project, because when your main star is changing his mind, it doesn't look very good to those who are inquiring about it. The phenomenon seems to really, really encapsulate a lot of high strangeness. And I'm going to kind of shift gears with you a little bit here on it. I think the phenomena is everything. I believe it's our dreams, it's near-death experiences, it's psychic intuition, it's consciousness, it's aliens, it's UFOs, it's Bigfoot, it's ghosts, it's everything paranormal. A lot more people are starting to believe now that the phenomena is all of one occurrence, almost godly-like. Where do you stand on that?
I am 100% on the same page as you. It is all related in some way, shape, or form. I think it also it presents itself differently to different people based on it almost has an intelligence to it. So that if someone is more open to having an experience with a UFO versus a ghost, they get a UFO sighting. But if somebody else is more open to a Bigfoot versus a UFO, they get a Bigfoot sighting. So I think there's almost an intelligence to the type of experience that the person has that will lead to the best outcome of that person kind of waking up to the possibility. So in that regard, a dream, right, that feels like a memory was the right initiatory mechanism for me. But for somebody else, it may be something completely different. And so, yeah, and I think in that regard, it is, again, all related in some way, shape, or form. And we need to stop talking about it as just UFO sightings or just Bigfoot sightings or just ghost, experiences, and really start thinking about it from that holistic view of, why is it number one, why is it occurring? And number two, why does it pick different forms of representation for different people? Why do certain people respond differently to UFO versus ghost versus Bigfoot? What is it about us that type of experience needs to differ? And then I think that there's also a need to understand, or at least to begin to explore what it means to us on a fundamental level. Like if you have a UFO experience and it causes you to question the nature of reality, what else does that cause you to question? What changes in you? Is there any physical change that occurs? Brain scans of people who are experiencers to see if they're different from those who have never had an experience. I think that there's probably some sort of a physiological change that occurs in people when they have experienced some aspect of the phenomenon they just can't explain.
Do you think, or the people you have talked to who've had experiences with the phenomena, do you think that their lives have changed for the good or the bad since their occurrences?
Yeah, so that's actually a question that I ask quite a bit. Is how has this affected you? And for the most part, I'll say that most of the people that I talk to that have had experiences that have had time to process what that experience means to them regard it in a positive way. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Travis Walton, but Travis Walton's a really good example of that, right? When he first had an experience, he viewed it in a very negative way, later, once he had an opportunity to process what was happening, he regarded it in a completely opposite way. He regarded it as they were saving him. He got too close to the field and he got hurt, and they were saving him. So I think that that's true for most of the people I talk to. Now, there are a handful of people that I talk to that still regard it in a negative way, and I think in those cases it's maybe because they weren't quite ready to have that awakening experience. At whatever stage in life they were in, it came too early for them, and so they still kind of see it as a negative experience. I know abductees that do not look favorable on their abductions. And I don't know that I have a definitive answer or even a position on the abductions that seemingly go awry, other than to say, like I did in the beginning, maybe there are some that are indifferent to our emotional states and don't realize the impact that their actions have on us.
I think you put it in a very intriguing way and make a lot of sense in regards to that. Because we are people who are looking for interesting ways to deal with these phenomenal issues, pun intended. Okay. And we are opening up to the possibilities of things that are outside of our realm, especially younger kids today. They seem
Mhm.
to be more connected than any of us, and more accepting of the fact that there could be life out in the stars or wherever it may be. They don't live in that sci-fi world, but they just believe that it's something that is actually out there. So
Mhm.
for you, when you talk to people about these instances that they're having, whether they are good or bad, do you look at things, or are they looking at things, pardon me, with an open mind, or is it something that's keeping them up at night and pushing them in a direction that, say, you have gone or I have gone?
I think for a lot of people that I talk to, it initially the experience um, kind of caused them to close off a little bit and kind of do that internal processing again for what it meant to them. But once they kind of move past whatever that internal processing looked like, and they applied their lens, if you will, of how they were going to look at the experience. The whatever their worldview is, they applied that lens over top of the experience. They figured out ways to adapt it into their life, and so in that regard, they the people who were able to do that and were able to move forward, they do begin to have an interest in other aspects of the phenomenon. I talked to someone just recently who has had experiences since she was very young, but those experiences have led her to be interested in doing, ghost investigations and to even have some UFO sightings. And so it's I think to answer your question, I think for the most part, the people that I've spoken with, they are open to seeing where the phenomena is leading them, so to speak. Um, but it's also possible that the people who are not open to the phenomena are also not willing to talk about their experiences. And so, therefore, the group of people that I've talked to is a limited representation of the overall field. And so, I don't know that I can say by percentage of population how many people who have had experiences are open to exploring that next step. Just to say that the people that I have talked to, majority of them have been open to exploring it.
Well, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. When we return, we're going to get into a few audience questions. I think you've broken down the phenomena very well, Josh. Josh Rutledge is our guest tonight. We have him until the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. The phenomena is the topic of the night. It affects us all. How does it affect us? Well, it seems to be individual. What's your story? Spaced Out Radio continues with more of Josh Rutledge right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. 30 minutes to go. All right, let's get an update here from Dirty Filth. This piece of art. And Blob, what do you think, Blob? Let's see here. Hello, fellow humans. Holy smokes, it's an insectoid. How can you tell? It's not my first rodeo, pal. Love it. Love
Pretty
it.
sure that's what you'd end up saying, Dave.
That's exactly what I would say. The more you know.
With Blob.
And is this one Blob approved?
Yeah, I still got to draw another one tomorrow.
All right. Love it. Love it. Well, you're looking good there.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to get that little blob paw painting all done here.
Well, I think you need to have a Blob approved stamp on these. What is with that? Somebody phoning in?
Filming? Oh, bloody hell. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. We still
Can't
love
do
you.
anything with these terrible headphones on, Dave. Squishing my brain.
I know. We still love you, though.
So, Dave, what's your opinion on the insectoids and mantids?
I've never seen one. Never seen one. I want to see one. I've never seen one.
You think they're out there? Or is that just something else like the blue chickens?
Probably the blue chickens. Josh, what do you think? You a blue chicken guy?
I've never even heard of the blue chickens.
You're lucky.
The blue avians or whatever they were called.
Mm-hmm.
I read about it somewhere and I started drawing aliens that were tall blue chickens. And
I have heard of
that.
some species that is blue. It's like the Andromedans or something like that. Yeah. I do think that mantids or mantis beings are. I don't know. I feel like there's just like I was saying before. Why not? Not everything has to develop and look like us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it could look like dirty filth. Got to be careful with what you wish for, man.
For all we know, Blob is a resident alien living there with you, Dirty Filth. So,
well, her actual name is Lyran, which is apparently a species of cat-like aliens, feline, if you will. I think she deserves a snack.
I think she needs a treat. What kind of treats do we have?
It's some weird party mix thing. It says right on the label, party mix.
Yeah? Does she like those?
Oh, yeah.
Good old Blob. Look at her. Just right there. She's like, yep, this is Blob approved. Totally Blob approved. Mm-hmm.
Okay, have a good night, gentlemen.
See you later. Bye, Blob.
She loves you guys.
I know. Thanks, Filthy. You're the best. Dirty filth, everybody. Dirty frickin' filth right there. All right. We love him. We love Blob, too. Blob's going to get a treat. And, yeah. It's our Blob, man. Just brings a tear to your eye. Brings a tear to your eye. Oh, yeah. All right. We got 30 minutes here, man. Well, actually, about 25, 26. We're good.
It's going to be over too soon.
Way too soon. This has been fun. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right. Tokeland, how you doing, man? Hope you're having a good night. Excuse me, everybody. By the way, thank you, everyone. We rolled 25,000 subscribers on the weekend. We're at a total of 25,003 right now. See if we can get to 5 by the end of the night. Here we go. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm the dude with the most tinfoil that you'll meet tonight, at least. Dave Scott is my name. This is Spaced Out Radio, and we are talking with Josh Rutledge here about the phenomena, the weird and strange that follows us around. Good to have you here, Josh.
It's great to be here.
It's great to have you as well. I want to ask you, in regards to the experiences people are having, how different are they? Are they? I mean, we've talked a lot about aliens and UFOs and people having experience with the phenomenon that way, but there's so much more to it. Do you get a lot of people around, or have you talked to a lot of people around who have been, inundated with ghosts or cryptids like Sasquatch?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, very much so. I mean, it really runs the gambit of everything that you can think of as high strangeness as people are experiencing. Some people do have ghost experiences. My let's call it fourth experience was I took one picture during a ghost investigation, and there happened to be a ghost on it. So there are people who are certainly having ghost experiences. I interviewed someone for the podcast not too long ago that had kind of a weird situation where he was in a hot tub at his house, and he started coughing. And as he was coughing, words and phrases started coming out, and he kind of started to become a channel for this entity calling itself the Emily Mind. So, I mean, there's, of course, that set him on his kind of path forward. So he kind of got right out of the gate with channeling and didn't have another type of experience prior. But yeah, it runs the whole field of different experiences that people have. And like I said, it's kind of almost like there's I don't know if it's a wheel of phenomena that somebody is spinning somewhere, and if it lands on UFO for you, that's what you get, or if there's some sort of a purpose to the type of experiences that we individually have, that they're almost tailored to be the type of experiences that we need.
Do you think the phenomena only gives you what you can handle?
I think the phenomena gives you what it thinks you can handle. So I think that we get into these rhythms of life. It sounds cliche, but especially I think if you're active in life, or if you have kids in life and you're constantly on the go, you get into this kind of cadence of life. And sometimes you need something that just comes out of left field, that in no way, shape, or form has anything to do with the kind of cadence of life that you're in. And so in that regard, you may look at it at the time and say, this is more than I can handle, but maybe again, some sort of intelligence is involved in that. It says, no, actually you can handle this. And this is what you need right now to kind of get you out of that, that kind of track that you've been on, and not really paying attention necessarily to the scenery that's around you.
Okay, so the scenery that's around me is I live in the middle of nowhere. I have, a nice little house on 0.5 of an acre. I have a radio studio in my house. and there's lots of wild animals around here.
Mhm.
Other people live in concrete jungles. New York City, Vancouver, Toronto, LA, London, Paris, wherever it may be. Okay. And yet, for some reason, the phenomena can hit us all. Doesn't matter
Yep.
location, doesn't matter color, sexuality, religion. The phenomena just grabs us by the tails and seems to shake us around a little bit.
Mhm.
I mean, have you ever heard of any cases where the phenomena was downright nasty, maybe even evil?
Yeah, I mean, I've interviewed some folks recently, actually, a woman who has been scratched during a ghost investigation, has been pushed, has been pulled. Um, the she is unwilling to call it evil though. And I'm kind of on the fence on whether or not there is evil entities in the world or in existence even. Sometimes I think that the phenomena, let's call it by name. Let's say that a ghost is in a house and it wants to be heard, it wants to be acknowledged, and so it turns on a light. But the people who live there, they just think it's faulty wiring, so they turn off the light or they change the light bulb or whatever the case may be. Then it steps up its game, and it next thing you know, it pushes over a cup of water on a stand. There must have been a draft. There's if the people are unwilling to acknowledge maybe that this is happening beyond the realm of possibilities that we're willing to accept, then maybe the entity continues to kind of up its game in an attempt to be noticed, to be recognized. And so, does it eventually get to the point where it has to physically interact with us in order to get that acknowledgement? Maybe it does. And so, again, talking a little bit about it earlier, the lens that we see the world through, sometimes that lens we apply to the phenomena and we see it in an evil or a negative way, when in all actuality, it may just be something trying to get our attention. And so we just have to maybe take off the lenses that we wear every day about how we interact with everything and realize that this stuff may not be so evil and negative, and it may just really be trying to get our attention again towards that end of awakening and realizing that there's something bigger than yourself.
Do you think the phenomena has an overall message for humanity?
Um, I kind of do. But I think that it's rather vague in its messaging. Because the phenomena is affecting us on an individual level. I think the message is that we as individuals need to kind of wake up and realize that there is there's more to existence than the physical interactions that we have on a daily basis. That there's more to life than going to work every day and paying taxes and going to school or eating dinner. That those are all the mundane aspects of life that we have to do so that we can really appreciate what life has to offer for us that we get to do. It's a perspective shift of looking at life as being an opportunity and not um, a requirement.
I got a couple audience questions here for you.
Okay.
All right. And we're going to start off with Mike here. Josh, what are your thoughts of an opening to Middle Earth at the Northern Zone?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very interesting prospect. I mean, there's a book out there called The Smoky God, I think is what it's called, and it's about a Norwegian sailor and his dad that somehow find themselves in a land of giants after they sail too far north. It's a very interesting tale. I want to say that the Admiral Byrd case also centers around the kind of north, and that he flew so far, and all of a sudden he discovered areas of green. So I think it holds it holds water, let's say. I also think that there may be something of similar regard at the South Pole, in the Antarctic area. There's actually a map that I've seen, or a drawing, if you will, that shows the potential inlet and outlet at the North and South Pole for Agartha, which is potentially to be where, kind of in that hollow Earth or inner Earth type area. And so, I mean, there's certainly enough cases, let's say, to support the possibility of it being so. The difficulty, obviously, given the terrain and the location, is how do you get, resources to go up there and investigate?
Well, that's the key with a lot of this is how do we get everything investigated, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it takes money. It's easy to say, "Hey, I'm going to go investigate," but a lot of these places takes a lot of money to get to, man.
Yeah.
A lot of money. Let's go to
I've
another
also
question.
heard,
Oh, go ahead,
sorry,
please.
I was just going to say, I've also heard that there's an access vent on the island of Malta in the Mediterranean. So, that might be a little more explorable from a resourcing perspective than the North Pole. So,
Let's continue on. Let's go to Jules. What happens if the others are never perceived by the general public because they don't have the caudate putamen or some such, just sensors and we sensitive and experiencers?
hmm. So I think I understand what your question is, and if I get it wrong here, I'm going to try to rephrase it. But um, as intuitives and experiencers, we open ourselves to the possibility of the phenomenon, so therefore we see the others. But the general public may not be willing to open themselves to the phenomenon, so therefore they can't perceive it. If that's the case, I think the 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 disjoint or the disconnect there is that the general public still looks at the existence of the phenomena as being a taboo topic. And maybe, like I said, that kind of introduction from the government or universities, if they were to start doing research, the more mainstream introduction of the topic and related topics and investigation and research, that might sway the general public to want to understand more about the topic, which would potentially kind of flip the switch, if you will, inside of their mind or consciousness, that they're willing to have that level of experience. And so therefore they might to begin to perceive them. It's just my kind of my logical thought as I think about it. But yeah, I mean, I think without a broader openness by institutions around the world to talk about this topic and tangential topics, we won't see that acknowledgement from the general public. And without that acknowledgement from the general public, it continues to be a grassroots movement of the phenomena, picking and choosing the people it needs to awaken.
Well, we're going to see how many more people are going to get awakened here with everything, as we got about 10 minutes to go here on the show with you tonight. Josh Rutledge is our guest. Paranormal wise, you've dealt with ghosts, I believe.
Mhm.
You've had some occurrences there. What's the creepiest ghost story that's happened to you?
So the a very good friend of mine has had multiple night hags, and night hags are somewhat um, it's an ambiguous topic. Are they ghosts? Are they something else? We don't really know. But for those that are not familiar, the night hag it's a while you're sleeping, you kind of wake, your body is completely paralyzed, and you see this entity in the room. Usually it has very dark or shadowy, and it usually has red glowing eyes. So this experience that A good friend of mine, again, he has repetitive experiences with night hags. And I was talking to him one time and I said, hey, maybe, uh, maybe it's perceived by you as being negative or evil or dark, but really it's not. It's we see a shadow with red eyes. We instinctually think it's dark and evil, but maybe it's not. And so the next time you have one, try to interact with it and see what happens. And so he talked to me a few days later and he cursed me and he said, dang it, I wish he hadn't said that, but he had one and he tried to interact with it. And so in his case, he fell asleep in a recliner and woke up. His body was completely paralyzed, and in front of him stood two dark figures, rather tall, long, kind of lanky arms, with again the red glowing eyes. And he said he immediately kind of felt fear, but he remembered me saying interact with them, and so he said, as he interacted with him, he said, "Are you all here to hurt me?" And he said that one turned to the other, and what he heard was it said, "Look at this poor thing; it's trying to interact with us." And then the other one kind of responded and said, yeah, I don't think it really knows what it's asking for. And then they kind of reached out and covered his face. And then he woke up from that situation. But that was probably the scariest thing that I've encountered from a potential ghost encounter. The next on the list would be this same friend was at a very famous haunting in Indiana. And he actually received scratches on his neck from something that was interacting with him in the space. Yeah.
Why do you think ghosts attack?
I think, so part of it is, like I said, that continually want to be recognized and acknowledged, that maybe it escalates to the point that it happens. I think that there are also some people, though, like, won't name names, but there's some folks that are on some of the big ghost hunting shows that intentionally antagonize ghosts, right? They go in wanting to have that outrageous experience happen, and they intentionally antagonize ghosts to get to that point. Outside of those two scenarios, I don't know. I mean, there's a number of different things that it could be, but I don't know that I have a definitive answer on. It kind of gets back to the thing where I was saying around, do you believe that there is truly evil entities in the world, or in, existence, let's say, and are those entities evil in the way that we think about evil, or are they just interacting with us in a way that, through our lens, again, that we see things that we interpret it as being evil. So I don't know. The idea around ghosts attacking implies that there is a decision that's being made that they're going to attack. But again, that may not be the case. It may just be an increased method of interaction that we perceive as being attacked, when it may not be so in their case.
You've done channeling. You've channeled spirits. I've done it. Kind of an interesting thing to allow a spirit into your body and talk through you.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get started on this?
I was in a deep meditation one day, and it kind of happened on accident. And then I quickly went into learning how to protect myself psychically, to make sure that it didn't accidentally happen again, and I could better control when it did happen. When it did happen, I was actually out again with the same friend that I've spoken about before. We were in the desert in Arizona. We were just out looking, sitting in chairs looking at UFOs, and I decided I was just going to go into a deep meditative state and see what happened. I was doing the Estes method that was actually made famous on the Hellier docuseries, where you wear the eye mask and the headphones, and you listen to the radio ghost box type thing cycle through, and that's when it happened. And apparently this entity that came in challenged my friend to get it to leave. And so luckily he was able to get it to leave, and I'm not, any of the worse from having it there. But it was a scary experience, and I was really encouraged not to try to initiate a channeling until I had learned properly how to protect myself psychically. And then once I did so, then I kind of started piece by piece with letting small opportunities for channeling coming into play. Recently, I actually I channeled with a good friend of mine, Shane Hurd. He's the
Shane's a good guy.
Yeah, for Phoenix MUFON. But that was a new experience for him, and so that was a really interesting, scenario where that happened, and it was very organic, and a lot of good information flowed through. I think that's probably my biggest gap right now is figuring out an appropriate mechanism for channeling so that I can get any important information that may be beneficial to anybody who's willing to listen, to be able to receive it. I've gotten messages on my own, and I've kind of incorporated those into my life, and I've gotten messages that I've shared with other people, but I really like to get to the point where I could do it on a more open basis, where I actually have, people asking questions, and then having the whatever it is that I'm channeling responding and giving information, kind of like the Daryl Anka, Bashar, and those types of things where folks do that. So
2 minutes ago here, you decided to get into the podcast world in order to try and get your message out. How is that going for you? And what's your show called?
Yep. So the show is called Mysterial Experiences. And it's on YouTube. It's also on all the podcast platforms that you might listen to a podcast on. And it's going really well. When I first started, I was going to do it every 2 weeks. Then I changed it to every week. And I realized that that's a little too much for me with my lifestyle right now. And so I'm actually going to go back to every 2 weeks starting in April. But it's a really good experience and conversation with people who have had experience with the phenomena. I mean, that's what it's intended to do, is to, again, kind of the underline of the show is, lifting the taboo one conversation at a time. So my hope is that it's not just people who have had experiences who are listening, that it may be others that stumble upon the show or have the show shared with them as something that they may be interested in. But it also maybe somebody who's only had a UFO experience might listen and hear about someone who's had a ghost experience and think about how that may tangentially relate to their UFO experience. Again, that idea of somehow this stuff is all connected in some way, shape, or form, and we need to start looking at it as that holistic, connected phenomena.
I love it. How often do you air?
Yep. So right now we're every week. In fact, coming up on this Friday, I've got the episode with Sev Talk, talking with her about her experiences. So right now it's every week. Starting in April, it'll be every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's great. And continue your good work and continue everything that you're doing, my man. And how can people find you online?
Yep. So again, youtube.com/@Mysterial Experiences. Mysterial is a made up word that I created that encompasses everything. So it's MYSTERIAL Experiences. You can also find me on TikTok underneath the same username, and on I have a Facebook page as well. I'm limited on Instagram, and I don't do Twitter, but that's where you can find me on all those social platforms. You can also go to mysterialexperiences.com for my website, which right now is just streaming the episodes.
Love it. Josh Rutledge, thank you for being on Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, the Travis William Moose with the Crypted Report. All right, my man. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Glad we had a good time, my man.
Yeah, I had a really good time. So thanks for having me on, and I'll be on the lookout.
Yeah, and next time you're close to Shane Hurd's mustache and beard combination, take a picture for me.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right.
All right.
Take care. Josh Rutledge, everybody. What a good guy. Good guy. Travis William Moosetoos is getting ready in the hot seat. He's already flexing. He's already giving high fives. And yeah, I'll be right back, everybody. We're going to take a quick break here. Okay. I am ready. I am ready. Ready, willing, and able. My headphones are falling apart. Oh, well. I like them anyways. They're comfy. Hi, everybody. It is cold and snowy out. Cold and snowy. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Glad we're all having a good night. Thank you for joining us. Who's coming to Reno? If you haven't, or if you're on the fence, just show up. Just come. It's a lot of fun. We want you there. We do. We want you there. All right. Log in. All right. What the hell is going on here? That's what we got to do. Gotcha. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Aliens. Aliens is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. He kicks off hour number 3 of each show with a real spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. In 2005, Patrick McDermott, the former boyfriend of the late singer and actress Olivia Newton-John, went missing during a fishing trip off the coast of California and was believed to have drowned. The ship's crew found Patrick's keys, wallet, and passport, and his car was parked nearby. Since the crew failed to do a head count, no one noticed he was missing for another week when he failed to attend a family event. Patrick previously filed for bankruptcy and had been in a legal dispute over child support payments with his ex-wife. He was thought to have been in significant debt when he disappeared. "It's not at all like him to disappear," said neighbor Kathleen Padden. On July 11th, Patrick's family learned some of his items were left behind at the 22nd Street Marina. Frank Liversedge, who managed the marina, believed Patrick made it to shore and intentionally left his belongings behind for unknown reasons. "I know he got to the top of that ramp. I've been here for 45 years as a boat captain and a vessel master. I have never lost a fisherman," said Liversedge. Despite an extensive search, Patrick's body was never found. One investigator proclaimed to have seen and spoken with him in 2009, but the claim was never confirmed. Another investigator alleged to have proof he was alive and was on the verge of revealing it, but never did. At least 20 sightings of Patrick in Mexico and Central America have surfaced, but many have proven to be false. Many speculate he faked his own death because he was in substantial debt and could not keep up with the, quote, Hollywood lifestyle. end quote. Host of a podcast entitled Pseudocide, The Disappearance of Patrick McDermott, alleged Patrick was lost at sea and did die on the fishing trip. The host contacted 10 previously quoted individuals saying they had seen Patrick around Sayulita. Still, none of them could confirm that they had seen him for themselves. Next up, we have Natasha Ryan. Natasha was supposed to attend school in Rockhampton, Queensland on August 31st, 1998. Her mother dropped her off that morning, but her name was missing from the classroom attendance list. Despite a thorough search, she was not found. Her parents told the authorities she had a habit of running away from home, but they felt it was, quote, different this time, end quote. Even her 21-year-old boyfriend, Scott Black, claimed to know nothing about her location. Over time, 3 other local women had gone missing from Rockhampton. All signs pointed to Natasha being harmed on the way to school that morning. Authorities also had a confession from Leonard Frazier, a man who spent 20 of the preceding 22 years in prison for various crimes. Frazier admitted to Natasha's murder as part of a police plea deal. However, on April 11, 2003, almost 5 years after Natasha's disappearance, the case took a puzzling turn. Frazier was on trial when prosecutor Paul Rutledge announced Frazier was not guilty of the murder of Natasha because she was very much alive. Detectives found her hiding in a cupboard at her boyfriend, Scott Black's house, the night before. Black had insisted numerous times that he had not seen or heard from Natasha, but he had been hiding her all along in a home just 4 kilometers away from her mother. Natasha told investigators that when visitors were over, she would hide in cupboards, but otherwise she would wander around the house like normal with the curtains closed. She only left the house when it was dark outside. Natasha was fined $1,000 for causing a false police investigation. Scott Black was convicted of perjury and given a 3-year jail sentence, of which he only served 12 months. He was also forced to pay $16,000 for costs related to the investigation. Natasha and Scott later married in 2008.
Thank you, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, for another spooky set of stories. If you want more just like that, you can head on over to youtube.com/Among the Missing and hit subscribe, ring that bell, because it's always good to support YouTube channels that we support as well. From the missing to the mysterious, it's the Cryptid Report. It's time for Travis Williamustus.
Appears my camera's having some problems. Give me a sec.
All right, Travis Williamustus is here. His camera seems a little frozen on the YouTube side, but on the radio side, everything is looking really, really good. How you doing, my friend?
Really doing fantastic here. I'm just getting used to these interesting headphones. Thank you to the SOR family. I appreciate it so much. I wonder how it's sounding on the other end.
You're doing great. You're doing great, my friend. You know, the cryptid world is starting to heat up a little bit, especially in the United States, where we see a lot of people getting ready to do investigations because the weather is getting warmer down there. Up here in Canada, a little bit different because winter just doesn't seem to want to stop, even though that damn groundhog saw his shadow, you know, and or didn't see his shadow, and whatever that conspiracy theory is about winter there. It never works in Canada, man. Never.
For me, it tricked me too, because I was seeing a lot of like the snow rabbits, the snow hares, they actually were reverting their color back to brown. So they thought it was going to be spring as well. And then we had also too, a lot of the coyotes are turning back their colors, and yeah, so like a few things and seeing a few birds and stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting to see them around, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? Thought we are going to get an early spring as well, right? So yeah, really very tricky and and a lot of predators are waking up in the area. Like I said, packs of lynx and different things are up and about looking for the food and ready to springtime, right?
When can people start to see a lot of these cryptids start to take a little bit of action? When do they start getting busy?
All right. Yeah. A lot of times during early spring and late fall, high spiritual activities in just the world in general, and then late, like during the winter, a lot of times, sometimes like midwinter, deep into midwinter, they can start to happen and come around. And like I said, we had a few like rooftop runners and things like that, sounds and stuff over the winters a few times. And yeah, so it's been kind of like an interesting experience, like throughout the springtime and the fall, and through periods of the year, but also the summer is highly active for like midsummer, like the solstice, and when the energies are really are up there with the frequency of the summer solstice, the June 21st, and yeah, it's like that's when it all happens. Give me a second, my cat's bugging me again.
Yes, the kitty is getting a little worked up, as the kitty always does during this show. And Travis William Moostus is here. And if you're in our YouTube audience and you have any cryptid questions for Travis, just put them in capital letters and we'll get them to Travis as we go on with the show. When do the cryptids start to really wake up? I don't think they hibernate, but they sure slow down in the winter time anywhere in North America. When do they start to wake up?
It's like the same thing, like when the earth and everything starts to function and come back to life, and it's just that whole energy, it just starts to recycle around again. It starts to cycle, and but like I said, it's mainly like it happens like throughout the year, depending on the situation and time and place and who's involved or what's involved, or but like most of the time, like the helpers and spiritual beings and dimensional beings that watch over us, the guardians, they're always active. They're always around us, and that's always year round. And but like you're saying, like when does it like say like the Bigfoots and different kind of like cryptids start to come back to the forest and stuff? It's mainly like spring, when everything starts to happen and all the forest animals are up and around, and all the other like critters are roaming, and like I said, the cycle begins again, right? It starts to take place.
Okay, so does it matter what cryptid it is? Do we have winter cryptids that are out there causing things to happen?
Definitely, there are different versions of cryptids out there when it comes to like the seasons. Yeah, because some of them do go to bed, but some of them do lurk out there. Like there are some like I said, like ice bears and things like that of that nature, and like the dogman and stuff like that. Those are the beings, like the ones I don't want to mention, come around during the winter and stuff when people's spirits tend to be low, or like they're easily manipulated in those lower circumstances in that sense. Like that guy I mentioned before, when he was like starving, him and his family were out starving in the woods, and that spirit ended up taking over him and making him go insane and cannibalize his own loved ones, kind of deal. So
right,
yeah.
JNCO has a question for you to kick things off with our audience. Travis, what is a roof runner?
A roof runner. So this was a cryptid, a spirit being that happened to run across 5 roofs one night in the same night, and leaving large footprints across the roofs and literally waking people up midnight. And they were calling my mother's house, which was just down, like further down the road from them, about a mile or so. And they were asking her if they seen or heard what was running around on their rooftops, or if it went running around their place. And my mom's like, no, not at all. Like, but I'll let my son know and see if he'll go and check it out or talk to you. And I did end up talking to the lady, and she ended up mentioning about the rooftops, and they were pretty freaked out about it, and they said it happened, and all of them ended up calling each other in the morning, kind of deal, like, did you have something interesting come by your house last night? And sure enough, it was like but yeah, nobody would be like physical person would be running across 5 people's rooftops at night for no apparent reason. Like nothing was stolen or anything. Like it was very interesting.
Yeah, I could see that would happen. I mean, you deal with a lot of obscure cryptids. Never mind what we know, Bigfoot, Dogman, and this is kind of why I like having you on the show, because mainly people, when they talk cryptids, are into the big two. Okay, yeah, you might get a little bit of gnomes, you might get some puck wedgies mixed in, or maybe a thunderbird or two, but you're into some strange cryptids. But I want to ask you first, before we get into those, have you ever had an incident, or do you know of any incidents with a thunderbird in Canada? I've never heard of one.
A lot of times they will bring you to different planes of existence and visions and like vision quests and those ceremonies. A lot of times the thunderbird is called upon for prayers and asked for healings, and that's part of the thunder guardians and beings that reign in that domain. They come through and ceremony and heal people or bring forward blessings and different kind of messages and I should say, like I said, that connection of guardianship, so protection and whatnot. But as for the thunderbird being spotted or seen, like as of lately, people usually say that it's with the thunder, it's in the clouds, and if you spend time, right, you may get a glimpse, but it's usually a message or a time when you're like getting your, like I said, ceremony or in that sense. People have said they've seen it, but they couldn't see it fully. Like they get a glimpse of maybe a little bit of the feet or a little bit of the beak or the face or the feathers, or like a little, like just a peek of it, right? And it's usually like clouded and shrouded by this cloud, and but you'll see the lightning, the blue eyes, and all the, like I said, when it flaps its wings, it creates this static energy that just creates this electricity and brings rain. And a lot of times rain dances are connected with the thunderbird to bring forward rain for the season, and if it was drought. And a lot of times those ceremonies would take place in that sense, in that regard, for that respect of that being. But yeah, no, they are very much real, and they're considered like a bird or like a serpent or a dragon. They're considered like a very ancient, like their own species of prehistoric being, like one of the first beings here, and kind of one of the first guardians on Earth and amongst the skies, right? Ruler of the skies. And so, but they ruled over this whole region. Like from North America, you see all of the, like in Canada here, you see like rock hieroglyphs from Alberta to over in Ontario of these thunderbirds. And then you go down south to Texas and you find thunderbird markings out there and their petroglyphs, and it's all over. So this bird was like massive, and it ruled across all of Turtle Island. And that's just a part of that I should mention.
Do you think that the thunderbird still exists now, or do you think that people, when they do have these sightings of them, are actually looking into a different timeline?
All sorts of mystical beings still exist, all of them. All sorts of kind of mystical birds and different kind of eagles that exist out there, and a lot of the beings too, like insect beings that still exist in dimensionals, and yeah, they still exist out there. It all depends on what frequency you enter. You're going into their dimension, right, or they're part of their connection to the world, and you'll see that, or you're getting your part of that vision, or you're getting those connections to them.
I mean, I just look at it like a 40-foot bird would be seen on radar. It would also, and I say this all the time, it would also defecate one big mess that we would notice. Everything would be painted white.
Yeah, this being was able, like, to not just fly in our atmosphere; it could fly out and fly into different areas. Like it was all over. It was a very universal being. Like I said, it was massive. It was huge in scale, and yeah, like I said, it was seen across the world. You go into other myths and mythology, and you see similarities in some of their legends and folklore of these dragons that were very much associated with lightning and rain and water, and especially like you go to some of the Aborigine tribes legends of the rainbow serpent, and it was like a sky serpent that they often called upon for rain, and I was like, wow, what a similarity there to our beliefs and our connection to Thunderbird, and but yeah, no, this being very much exists in another dimensional reality. It's able to access and come through and be in our realm and at any time, and yeah, it's like I said, it's very powerful. And yeah, when it comes into ceremonies, it just shakes a whole shake a teepee, or it could shake a whole like a sweat lodge. You just feel it just shake the whole thing. Like it's pretty and you just feel the wind just blows this fire and everything. See everyone, well, not the fire, but I should say the rocks and coals and everything just makes them all heat up, light up. But
right.
yes, so yeah.
What about inner Earth? What kind of creatures are you seeing coming from inner Earth that we may recognize?
All right, so there's these dimensional spider beings, and these guys are very malicious. They tend to, if you see them out or encounter them out in the woods and in like their caves and stuff, you can negotiate with them and stuff, but at the same time, they are like I said, they are very dimensional beings, and they also they pretty much, when they bite you, they'll just melt all your bones and just drink you dry like a Kool-Aid jammer kind of deal. Like, and it's like but it is very much like a thing that, is, like I said, these dimensional insectoids have a lot of different capabilities and different kind of means and different spiritual powers or messages sometimes that it tends to be, depending on your time and place in the universe, I guess, and who you are, right? Like if you're there in a bad situation, and yeah, you're gonna get into bad conflict with them. But if you're there and if it's meant for you to meet these beings, sometimes they will, like I said, they'll come and meet you, and they will like I said, have these messages or things to offer you in that sense.
Okay, these spider beings, okay, you mentioned they're found in caves and underground holes and everything. Are they a shadow type being, or are they actual physical?
They could be both. They're both. Like you could see them, they'll be like a spider, and then they'll shapeshift into morphing in bigger forms. And yeah, they are, like I said, they're both in this world and the other. They're kind of both in between. And they are also found in the forest, as I was mentioning too, deep in the the pine forests and like I said, places that are just untouched, and like the energies are just like frequencies up and just close to the like it says, connecting from the inner earth, right? So it's coming up from the sun. It's all vibrating through the roots and the systems of the stones, and it's so when you're out in that frequency, in that field, it's like you're entering their world and you're entering into that zone, and it's kind of like you always have to be in your own your form of protection, in your own keep your guard up kind of deal when you're exploring these areas. And like I said, sometimes when you're out in these ceremonies, you'll be brought there by these beings. They'll bring you out to these places for you to connect with and to learn and visit and travel in the spirit world and to see these things. And that's a blessing in itself, and a blessing also too when you return back to your body, just to be back and alive again, or alive in the world and this existence.
Travis, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. And when we come back with the Cryptid Report with Travis Williamustus, we will take more audience questions, and we will continue talking monsters right until the top of the hour, because I know you love it out there. You love the monsters, and we love Travis Williamustus from the Cree Nation in northern Alberta, hanging on out, chasing down the monsters. Our resident monster hunter will be back with us right after this on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Dizzy F and Reen, how you doing? We got a couple questions here. All right.
Line them up and get them ready, and I'll be more than willing to share my insight.
Where's Kitty?
Where's oh, he's sitting right here. He has his hand on the cord right now, like he's gonna unplug something. He thinks it's gonna get my attention right now. So, yeah. But he's sitting there. He's chilling out right here, right now. I don't know if y'all can
See him down there.
There he
Oh,
is.
look at him go!
Look
Look at
at
him go!
He's like, I'm gonna get you guys. Love it. Love it.
So awesome. I'm happy y'all can get to see him and hang out. And thank you so
Susan
much
wants to know where exactly you're north of Edmonton, right?
Yeah. I'm like 4 hours north, and it's like near Lesser Slave Lake area. It's like one of the largest lakes in all of Alberta, and that's like why I said like why we have so much activity is because of the energy of the lake, and then also too it's like it lines up with a lot of ley line areas to this lake, and also a lot of cryptids come to visit it during the spring, and like over the years, like we've had these encounters and tales and legends and encountered, like I should say, situations that have happened around the area. There we go.
Love it. Hi there, our good friend Skip to Malou. Nice to see you. Cute cat. What's Kitty's name again?
His name was Smokey, and then the kid, well, all my nieces and nephews, they all ended up calling him Moki. So now his name is Moki.
You know, hey,
And
just so you know,
goes by that.
with the new headset and microphone, you don't need to mute anymore.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. There's no feedback anymore.
Wonderful. Well, that's just excellent.
Absolutely. Excuse me.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot more craft and stuff in the air, and yeah, it's been excellent. Clear skies as of lately. Cold out though, like you said, the snow's been and bringing a lot of cold. So
it went from +8 2 days ago to -21 this morning. I'm like, how the hell do we have a 29-degree turnaround, right, in 2 days? It's like, excuse me. You just thaw out, and then all of a sudden you got to freeze your nuts off again. Oh, terrible. Terrible.
yeah, you take the plastic wrap off the windows, and then you're like, you got to tape it back all up again.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be right back.
All right, buddy. I apologize for the yawning, everybody. I really do apologize for the yawning. Gonna try it. Thanks to Sandra Kincaid, I'm going to try a new setting on my CPAP tonight, and hopefully that makes a big difference. I've been struggling lately. Oob, Joe's Maine. Where's Lubla tonight? Yeah, Sandra's going to fix me up. Good. She was on the phone with me with that southern accent. She's like, I'm going to fix you up good. I'm going to fix you up good. I'm like, awesome. Hi, sweet Tony D. Good morning to you over in the UK. I got your question. You know what? I just yawned because I read Joe's comment. If Dave yawns, does that mean all of us are going to yawn along with him? I don't know. Probably. Jessica Davenport's cold, everybody. Who wants to give her a blankie to warm up? All right. Thank you tonight to Peter, Laura, Jennifer, and W. Decker for the great super chats. Really appreciate your love and support, everybody. It's a good way to support what we do. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, as we do not have ugly swag, people. So pick it on up and wear it today. Just well worth it. Here we go, everybody. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with our good friend Travis Willier Moose, who's hanging out with us, talking cryptids all night long. And thank you for joining us, Travis. Always appreciate your time.
Happy to be here, Dave. Happy to be here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening here now and tuning in the future. I'm glad to be here and share my insight. And we were having a great conversation just before the break about a little bit about Inner Earth. And I just wanted to explain a couple things and just say, like, a lot of these beings, they're able to, there's a lot of portals that happen within the Earth through a lot of this transmuting energy. So a lot of them are able to take these paths across the Earth and transport across through these tunnels and different entrances. And in the old times, a lot of people talked like how a lot of these entrances and portals just would connect across the Earth and to these places. And a lot of these places had sites that were built around them or near the area. And they were able to travel. And like I said, it was a lot of Inner Earth trade going on. So it was a lot of trade and a lot of, connection going on in those early times, especially with the older civilizations that went across the old Turtle Island here. Sorry, just kidding.
All right, let's get to some audience questions here as we continue on. Let us start off with Jules. Thank you, Jules. She is asking, I already asked that. I apologize. Let's go to Castle Dude. Insectoid aliens exist, but do insectoid cryptids exist?
Yeah, very much so. There's been a few over the time, like I said, there was some that were like beetles that would, like I said, it would end up like, they would end up entering your skin and things like that. But also these ones, beings that I'm talking about, cryptids, these ones are like humanoid. And these ones were able to manipulate your mind and like end up kind of causing you to make like just wrong decisions and just kind of like manipulate the mind in like insanity way kind of deal. But they're very dimensional, and then they could be physical as well and take form. And a lot of times there's many different kind of cryptid, like I should say, societies of those kind of different beetles, because there are some that were good, and they would come around through portals, and they'd end up taking part in a lot of traditional events or things that were going on, especially in the ancient times, in the old days, talking about even like ant people and different kind of beings that would end up coming through Inner Earth or coming up from the olden ancient societies, I should say, that lived in those times.
Are they still walking the planet today? And
very much. Yeah, it's very much so. They inhabit like areas like that most people don't go. in inner Earth areas, civilizations. A lot of these beings that have never left inner Earth to begin with. A lot of them were created and existed still down there, including the lizard folk and the reptilians and things like that. They can control their body temperature. The reptilians can, and so down there it's not a problem for them. They can reach further than most of the beings. As whereas a lot of these beings are more like cavernous dwellers. They live in caverns or like larger pockets of the earth that are kind of closer to the crusts. Not really, like when I say deep in the inner earth, not like the reptilians can reach really like far down.
All right, let's move on to another question. Let's go to Dizzy. Hi, Travis. Just woke up to ask you a question. How would a regular Joe or Jane protect their property and home from paranormal danger in general?
Well, yeah, there's a few things that can be done. Like I know a few things like that I could do and help, and people can watch over themselves, watch over their area too. If they have a lot of insight, they can actually and work with the astral realm. They can actually clear their area on their own, or the energy of their home. They can ask the guardians to help them. I should say guardians of light that would come through and clear such negative force beings. But as for like as for like a cryptid, like say if there's an attack going on or something, like say your house is being like visited by let's say a vicious malicious dog man spirit, or like a wolf hybrid or something like that along those lines, or it would take physical, like you'd need a physical kind of blessed object or weapon to ward them back or to fight them back with. There's a lot of traditional things like in my spirituality that we use to defend ourselves with against such things, including such like I said, like such plant materials and things like that help cleanse areas I'm not saying sages, but like funguses and different other kind of materials that go along with that, right? But like a lot of the rocks, though, like I said, help us out too, and crystals and things like that. And in general, I'm saying like light workers and chimes, like those ancient sounds that really bring in the resonation of resonating vibrational frequencies that bring in the light beings, right? So that's another way of clearing things for you and keeping things safe. What else was I going to say there? There was like something I had in my mind, but it's like it's in the wind now.
That's all right. Let me ask you, what about Palo Santo wood or sage? How does that help?
Yeah, like it all depends like on the purposes being used, because a lot of like those two ingredients, they could be used in many different ways, and they have their own special properties to them both and their unique qualities. So it all depends on the situation at hand and how they go about it. But sage is a very excellent cleanser of objects and areas, and that works really good for helping cleanse a home and cleanse yourself, and so like that works really well in that regard.
Love it. Okay, let's continue on here. Let's go to another question from our audience. This one from Tony in the UK. Travis, what is your thoughts about angels, as there seems to be a crossover between protections and smudges, crystals, etc.? Maybe angels are a thing?
Yeah. All right. So it's all like those are spiritual like guides and guardians, and those are light beings, and it's all the same. It's all the same, like in the sense of like spiritual connection to the light and universe of light. So it's like they are seen as guardians and protectors, and like I said, that frequency of those worlds and those realms. are all aligned for that spiritual universal light. So that's like the way I was taught was it doesn't matter what religion or creed, as long as it's connecting with the universal light, it is the path of universe. So it's I'm all for it. I'm all for it in that sense. Like if we're considering it like the guardians as like angels or protectors, and yeah, it's very much so. And our kitty's just going wild at me right now, but it's like it's part of our connection to the universe and who we are, and our being's connection to the universe as well. So it's very much a part of it.
All right, let's go to Castle Dude over in the UK. Do some inner Earth beings believe that the inner Earth is flat? I love this question.
It's actually believe it or not, it's a lot larger than what we expect it to be, and but like when they talk about flat, it feels like that on a spiritual astral level, because there is a barrier around the primordial universe that is, and then the astral realm, and it's split because there's a balance in between. So there's a higher realms and lower frequency realms. And then when you pass through that barrier from our primordial universal energy into the astral realms, and sometimes you do, like I've done work and went down to the lower astral realm, and it's like passing through a flat, just like a black ooze, and falling into a sea of abyss, and all these creatures are down there, and all these like just darkness, and it is like a void. So people might think that like on a spiritual level when they have these like awakenings, like, oh, there's flat, but it's like it's that spiritual plane. It's like that existence. You're crossing a barrier, or you're going up through a barrier to that other higher frequency or dimensional plane, I should say. And that's why they say that plane, dimensional plane.
Okay, let's continue on here. Let's go to Blue Cruise. Are there any caterpillar inhumanoids or cryptids?
Yeah, those ones are the worst kind. The I should say the anthropod kind of dimensional, lower frequency dimensional attachments that lower frequency beings often manipulate and use to hinder human existence regarding spiritual health and condition of well-being and vitality. A lot of times people won't get better and they don't know why they're sick, and it's these things that are inside of them, these parasites in their spiritual body. And I know they exist because I've had to deal with them through myself and rip it out myself and do things like that in spiritual world. And but like also too, when we've done that and healed people or helped people and took that out, then they were able to get better from their treatments and from like modern medicine, because the medicine wasn't working. But then when we did that, all of a sudden it started working for them again. Well, it started working for them and they got better. So I'm just saying, like, there's these things that are out there like that, right, that most people don't consider, and it has to be a part of our modern day society, our medicine. And a lot of doctors and things might say a lot of difference, but they got to understand that their hospital's only been around for a couple hundred years, and our people have been here healing and doing our techniques for over thousands of years. And when they showed up here, we were doing the healings on them and helping them out. And that's the truth there about that. So I figured that be said and mentioned.
Love it. Love it. Travis William Oostus on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Let's go to Dizzy. Travis, I'm trying to think of simple protections for simple folks, like people who are not experienced. What's your opinion? What should they use?
All right. Like I should just say right now, like just being your being in connection. So people's alignment and just staying tuned to universal guidance and intuition and spirit, and just staying tuned to that higher frequency and vibe, allowing that harmonious frequency to flow into your life and your peace and your quiet times, and also and that just keeps up the higher frequency around you, right? And that allows those guardians to be around you, but also like allowing those times for you to connect with spirit and your guardians, and reminding yourself and that you are a being of light and you are a spirit out there in this universe, and we are all on this journey together in this experience, and just reminding yourself that we are all connection to the universe, and that usually brings forward that like I said, that connection that will help bring forward the ancestors and that protection for you. As a physical object, you can, like I said, you can do like sages and smudges, and you can use your version of like I should say, like your practice, your spiritual practice, if you're using like incense and things like that bring positive energy and vibes through, or if you have like a effigy, like a statue of your goddess or something like that, then that brings in protection as well in that sense. Or if you're going to use crystals and connect with the universe in that sense too, that works as well. And also too, if you're having extraterrestrial contact and you're getting bugged by grays and all that, they don't like magnets. So like something like this, like magnets that just stick together, you put them like at your windowsill, just kind of standing upwards. That will keep them away. It messes with their lower frequencies. They can't handle it, and it totally jams them out. So I figured I just mention all that up there.
No, I appreciate that. Explain magnets to me again. I'm trying to figure out how that works.
So a lot of these magnets still just pull in a lot of energy. Just you can see it just from the contracting of it happening in our physical reality. So when these lower frequency beings, they come through, and they it almost like it pulls their energy, or it kind of distorts them, and it disrupts them, and they work really hard to try to keep their physical form, or when they come into our realm. So they work really hard to do that. And so when we mess with them and get their like say they come through and then that magnet messes with them, and we block our barriers, our energy, say with the crystals or things that we set up or do or have made in that sense, is gonna, like I should say, distort their energy and just totally break their I should say their energy form.
Got it. All right, let's continue on with our questions here. I think we got one more. Bonehead wants to know, do they have similar fruits and vegetables in Inner Earth like we do?
Better. A lot of these aren't tainted or ruined by chemicals or any of our pollution efforts, but these fruits are actually filtered through the minerals and waters and natural runways that have existed throughout the millions, and I should say since the beginning of time. And like a lot of these civilizations have manipulated the water to actually to run through crystal like aquifers, and these aqueducts actually purify the water. And a lot of times the resonation from like the resonating energy will actually make crops grow faster for them, like overnight, because like the energy from the crystals and power of the fields and the water that runs through them. And they have ways they cut them off, and they control the rivers, and it's a very beautiful thing.
Have you ever been to Inner Earth?
Many spiritual journeys. Some were battles. Some were there to explore and see. I met dog humanoid people that were actually very ancient alien extraterrestrials that were still alive in there in the frequency, and they were inside of an ark ship. Inside of the ark ship, there was like these pools of water that had all these like glowing fishes, and the waters were like fluorescent blue, and they were like pools of water. Like these fishes were from the beginning of time. They were supposed to be part of like the beginning of Earth, like when they were seeding a lot of it. And but they never made it out of that ark ship, so they just stayed alive in there. So like there's this whole ecosystem in these ponds and this large, vast ark ship, and they led me through this like walkway, and eventually like they brought me to this crystal library. It was like there's these like they looked like books, but they were like blocks of crystal. And when I looked through them, it was like a movie playing. Like I was just seeing like a vision of it in there, and there was a lot of, it was like old Earth. Like, well, at first I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was just like geological rock structures, and like just like volcanic eruptions, and like raging seas, and like volcanic vents under the water creating atmosphere, And I was just kind of like looking at it all. I'm like, oh, this is Earth, the beginning of Earth. And it was like kind of a blessing to see that, because it was almost like that need for me to be connected to that beginning of time, to see that and to experience that. So that's what I ended up seeing through these through this crystal book anyway, and that vision. So, but yeah, like they're yeah, it's very much a real place and real thing that happens, and very dimensional, and crystal centers that exist down there with ET that are there for people to connect to and meet, and meet their star families and connections. And yeah.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Okay. I appreciate that, man. As we got about a minute and about a minute 45 to go here. We got time for one more question. This one from, where to go? Blue Cruise here. Are there any amorphous or blob inhumanoid cryptids?
Yeah. All right. So there was there's quite a few of them, blobbish kind of ooze beings that have protruded out, and these were actually natural kind of beings that were existing in our Earth, but then they were manipulated into like from another lower astral being, and they were kind of like black ooze. But when I was looking through, it was like manipulation from I should say from like it was non-human. I should just say non-human race that was affecting it, turning it black ooze, and this black ooze was trying to seep into our reality and affect our plants and our Earth, and really kill the spirit of Earth. And it was like that in that sense. But yeah, there are ooze. It does take form. It does take shape on our Earth, and they do swallow they'll swallow like anything. They'll eat any small little mammals or any kind of like they're like small. It'll look like a little like a blob flopping around kind of deal. Like it doesn't get too big, doesn't get bigger than a fish, but usually that's what it could eat. Like a fish get it, or like shore life, or what I mean, like kind of deal.
Right. Travis, where can people find you?
All right. Yeah. I'm Blue Lightning Cards on YouTube, Blue Lightning Cards on TikTok. You can also find me, my books on Amazon, Travis Hellier, Fort Sunder. Or you can find the Pleiadian Guidance. Look under books. It's an ebook. Get it now. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate it.
We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up from the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. All right, man. Great show.
Oh, yeah. Very mystical, man. Very mystical. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, no worries, buddy. No worries. It's what we do around here. It's what we do.
Such excellent questions. I always enjoy them. And everyone that's watching, thank you so much. And like I said, I want to just give another thanks to everyone for the headset, the SOR family. I appreciate it so much. Like, like I imagine it helped out the podcast a lot tonight. And you know,
you got
that's
that from the family.
yeah, I got this from the family, so I just figured I'd say thank you to everyone out there, and so much for sending it to me. And I'm so happy to get it. And obviously, I'm just having fun with it and floating around here.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Anyway, Dave, you have a wonderful night. Thanks for inviting me on, and take care. And many blessings. Yeah,
We'll see you next week. All right. Give me 1 second here. Copy. Sorry. Just trying to see something here, guys. Shirky Poo tipped me off that somebody may be stealing our programming for profit. And that would be a no-no. That would be a major no-no. Hi, Philipaka. How you doing? Ross Dogs, how you doing, buddy? Let's go to Spreaker. This is all my shit. Well, almost all of it. Yeah, this channel's going to come down. What are they called here? It is spelled it wrong. Excuse me 1 second here, everybody. Well, let's find out who this UFO whistleblower is. Looks like they just started posting. Posted a bunch today. Let's see what this sounds like. Let's unmute this. Well, look at that. Somebody is stealing my work. Yeah, we are going to Um, report this. See if they are on YouTube as well. Channel. That's real nice. I love it when people steal my shit. Not the first time. Boy, they got a lot of my episodes on here. Wow. Interesting. Okay. Oh, well. I will get the team to worry about that. No, there's no credit, nothing. Either way, my work is copyright. So, as you know, at the end of each show, I announce that this show is copyright. I just sent them a nasty email. I did. Sent them a nasty, rude email. Basically telling them that if they don't remove my content effective immediately, I'll get their channel canceled. And I will take their monetization. I think it's one of those troll accounts. That's what I think it is. It's when people steal your content and then use like a hidden type of account, like a burner account, troll account to post. They try and make money off of your content. Oh, it's called UFO : there's a colon and then space whistleblower. All right, everybody. Want to say a big thank you to W. Decker, Jennifer, Laura, Peter, and Louie for the super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Tomorrow night on the show, who do we got? We got Les Velez, searching for aliens, searching for answers in the paranormal. He's one of the heads of Opus, which is a great group. Les will also be attending our Reno event in May. So you want to go and come see him. He's pretty awesome. And yeah, thank you to everybody tuning in. We'll see you all tomorrow, okay? Take care. Be safe, everybody. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.